Hey everybody. Sorry. Finished moving my desk around a little bit. Make sure I have room. How's everybody doing? Hey, how you doing, Alex? Hey there. Oh, thank you. So I'm gonna show you guys a quick, just where my setup is here. Sorry, I have to clear my throat every time I do this. So I'm just gonna show you a quick setup. So my husband's making faces at me and dancing. So I've got my palette here, and I just mix right on my palette most of the time. Hey there. And I use these little spray bottles to wet my palette down as I'm working. So if you haven't seen my work, I don't have a finished piece here, but I do underglaze painting. And I, do some slip trailing with florals. So that's what my work looks like. I do a lot of farm animals, owls, also pets, and things like that. So I paint with, I'll show you a couple things so I don't have to move around a whole lot afterwards. So I use Amico underglazes. I paint on bisque, and thank you. And I paint on bisque. I fire to cone 6. Just a little tip is I label all the tops of my colors so that I can find them easily. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, Alex, I don't know why it took me so long to be like, oh, I could spray my palette down. But yeah, it definitely is a big help. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start painting. If you don't see me on the screen for a second, it's just because I'm mixing or washing my brush out or something. And I'm going to try to keep looking down and make sure I don't miss you guys saying something. And if you think that I might have maybe missed your question, you can ask it again, and I'm sorry. So usually what I do is I do a quick kind of layout of what I'm going to be painting. And I do that in a lighter color. A lot of times I use a light brown or a light gray. My clay body is, I use standard 365. They're porcelain. And I don't always start with the same, the same parts, but I do feel like a lot of times I start with the beak for these. I paint on bisque because I feel like the underglaze absorbs a lot more with painting on watercolor or gouache on paper. And I feel like it just absorbs better into the clay. I've gotten some pieces from people where the underglaze, I know they apply it on greenware and it has, it's popped off before, and I don't know, I'm not sure if it's just a coincidence, maybe it got chipped or, or what, because I know some people do it all the time and it's totally fine. But also this just really works a lot better for my process, just the way that it absorbs and how I do my layers. Of course, I'm always nervous when I do these, so I feel like extra shaky, sorry. So just a quick kind of layout. Also, so with underglazes, for my process with the layering, my first layers are always the most watered down. And then my later layers are the most, like direct, or the, words escape me, like the most straight underglaze, just more intense. So I'm also hugging my phone. I've got it stuck into a squished roll of duct tape, so I'll try not to cover what I'm doing. Thanks, Curry. So my light's really strong here, but also, so I usually have, this is just kind of an extra cup I had laying around. I try to keep my surface nice and smooth. This was a piece that kind of had a little extra texture to it. I try to keep it much smoother, and especially under this light, you can see it much stronger, where there's that texture, but usually when it fires, it's okay. Okay, so first layer down, just the little outline. So then I'm going to switch to a larger brush for the fill-in areas. So I tried to build my shadows first. So I put those down. And I'm just mixing two different browns together right now. Using medium brown and red brown. So I just go in and start building up where those shadows are going to be, so that when it's fired, those will come through. The chicken wire is, I slip trail that on. Sometimes I do dots, or like this cup here. Well, that one's not slip trailed, it's just carved. But sometimes I do these moons when I do like an owl and a moon, and I'll do some slip trailed like circles. So it just depends on what I'm, what the overall piece is going to be. But yeah, it's just slip trailed on. Sorry. Let's see. So these are just the little shadow areas. Do I have white underglaze under the colors? No, I just paint straight on the bisque, but that's just because I'm using porcelain. So I used to paint on like a speckled brown stoneware, and then I stopped because I felt like my colors weren't really coming through, or I'd have to use so many layers of underglaze and they still weren't really coming through, even if I added white. So I just switched to porcelain, and I like the porcelain because it's a nice white. It's not like a creamy stoneware. Thanks, Stacey. Hey, Christy, how are you doing? Hey, Gail. So, do the first. Do I have a painting background? Yeah, I've been painting since I was really little. But I focused in painting and printmaking in college, and I've been painting with like oils since I was like maybe like 6 or so. I actually started a little bit, but more seriously in my I was maybe 12. So after I get that first bit of shadow layer down, I start putting the next layer. And this is a different color. I'm not using a photo right now, but that's just because I've painted a lot of these before. So I kind of know this one. But a lot of times I do use a photo. I try to use my own pictures, or I make sure I get permission from people if I'm going to use someone else's. And I'm going to stop in a minute and show you what I'm doing here. And I'm paying attention to the direction of my brush work, because you'll be able to, see a difference. You know how like when you were a kid, if you colored with markers and you colored this way and then this way and then this way, you would see that no matter what. And that's kind of the same thing here. Like you're going to see that, so you want to pay attention to the direction. Okay, so what I just did there was I'm trying to build that volume. So I put the darker shadow areas in first, and then I filled in more of the area, but I only have some of that overlaps. Because if you were to just do everything all flat together, like all dark brown and then all light brown over top, you would just have a really flat finished piece. Sorry, like a finished object. My favorite part of the process is really the painting. I love throwing. I don't know. I feel like you have to love all the process, but I love throwing and painting. Also, though, I think that sketching is really important, and I think that that's a really important part of the process, and I really enjoy that. So a lot of people ask me about pink, and like with underglazes, because they'll have that burnout a lot of times. And I just use either rose and white, or the bright red and white. But Amico also just came out with two other colors. I think it's coral and blush, and those are pretty good. They hold up really well. I really like the bright red, and the white gives a really nice kind of watermelon color when it's fired. I'm using Amico's Underglaze. And then other colors that, like I use straw pretty often for when I do beaks on animals. And that's a color that you kind of have to test it yourself to see how it is with your clay. But I find that that's one that definitely wants to burn out a little bit. So I'll either add a little bit of white to it to kind of make it a little more stable. But then I'll add other kind of tones that are within it. So like the deep yellow or teddy bear brown. And I just make sure I have enough layers of it. Yeah, Lucky, I saw that you mentioned that they discontinued some, and I talked to them. They only discontinued, I think, 5 or 6, but I think they were the lighter browns. But like the teddy bear brown and chocolate brown, and I don't remember if it's mahogany or the red brown. Those are still around. And you can mix everything, you know, so that's one thing I really like. I fire to cone 6. And I don't always do, you know, say you're going to do, like overall, you kind of do maybe 3 or 4 layers of underglaze, depending on, you know, what you're doing. How much water is mixed in, how many washes you're doing. And I don't always do like layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 on the whole piece. I kind of hop around, and I might finish the whole eye all at once just because I feel like it, or because I want it to blend a certain way. I don't fire them again. I just go ahead and do the clear, and fire them one time. Yeah, Lucky, I don't know. I don't work for them, so I don't know, but luckily they haven't really discontinued any of the colors that I use on a regular basis. Yep, this is the 365 porcelain. This light's really strong. I don't know if you guys can see okay. Hopefully you can see all right. So now I feel like a lot of times I will go ahead and get the eye kind of finished up. So I put the teddy bear brown on, and now I'm moving to a darker brown to put around kind of the edge. Okay. Thank you about the light. Yeah, I just got this lamp not long ago, so it's kind of different for me. Plus I'm like hovering over my phone trying to reach the cup. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier with the throwing line. So this is a piece that I kind of pulled back for a demo, because it's not one of my like smoother pieces. I try to keep things pretty smooth. Like this one is a lot smoother overall. So this was just one that I kind of held back to do a demo on. And it might end up, being all right. Hey Sue, how you doing? Oh no, it's okay. No worries. Oh, thank you. I was telling Stacy before I came in here, like I always get so nervous, even like when I teach workshops and stuff. But I'm also just like really shy in general. So I'm trying to not shake while I'm working. So I'm just kind of going in now and adding more of the layers to add volume. So not necessarily filling in every space that I've already filled in. Also, sometimes you'll see me like twist my brush, and that's just a way of getting a varied application of the underglaze. Just a little technique. So I'm going to go over this whole area again here, just because I had a pretty light wash on it, and then I'll go back and do different amounts. Let's see. Let me go ahead and work on this eye a little bit more. Try to keep an eye on the time. So usually I spend probably 2 hours working on a piece. But when I do like a time lapse or an online thing, I try to keep it to just an hour. So I would normally do a little bit more than what you guys see. Hey there. So just kind of hopping around to different areas. So I'm just trying to create a little shadow there on the beak. Hey Don, yeah, I use all Amico. I don't switch anything around. That's just when I like originally was picking out what I wanted to work with. Amico just worked the best for me, and I stuck with that. We've got nice, reliable colors and so I've got a little bit more white added in here on this pink area. I'm just mixing off to the side right now. My kids and my husband are upstairs. And it sounds like there's an elephant party going on. They're just jumping all over everything. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if you guys can hear all that. Oh, I might have missed a question. Let me scroll back. I don't do YouTube or anything. I just do, like, sometimes I do these on Instagram and sometimes on Facebook. I use Mako's Clear, but I really like. You guys still there? I like how glossy the Mako is. Yeah, he's home for now. I don't know what's going on, if he's gonna have to go somewhere else to help out with everything at the moment. Every time his phone goes off right now, I'm kind of on edge. Actually, I can hear him right now talking about work. So it's always stressful. Sue, I don't know if I understand your question, but I also am very tired. So I don't bisque again after I paint. But I do, so there's a little bit of resist in the underglaze. So usually I would just dip the piece in clear, but because of that resist, I actually brush a layer on the painted areas first, and then I can dip after that. So I don't know with this harsh light if you can see how it's kind of building up the shadow and the light areas. I'm going to go back with a light pink here. I always try to overlap the edge a little bit. Also, while I'm thinking about it, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been doing all these live videos and the admin and everyone for getting everything together. I really am, as much as I'm not an extrovert at all, I look forward to NCECA so much and seeing everybody. And it's just such a bummer to not be there right now with everyone. So I really love all the demos and just the being able to get together like this. So thanks everybody for everything. I'm really glad I told Stacy I was bummed because I wanted to do one of these like when the sign up came out, But then I knew I was going to suddenly be homeschooling the kids, and I was worried, something would come up, and I didn't want to commit to a time and then, let everybody down, 'cause I would feel bad. So I'm glad I got a chance to get in here. So this is kind of an example of what I was saying about how I don't do the whole piece all over at the same completion rate. So I'm definitely, the beak and the comb and the eye is much further along, obviously, than the rest of the piece. Oh, thanks, Sue. I love teaching workshops. I taught at the MWR. It's the military. It's called the Morale and Welfare. It's a resource recreation. I taught art classes for a while, and I originally wanted to be a teacher when I went to school, like an art teacher. But then it seemed like maybe that wasn't going to be the most secure job. So then I just decided to go with straight up art, which I'm not sure why I thought that was more secure. But so I really love teaching, and I love that workshops kind of give me a chance to do that. I think they're a really special way to connect with people. The only problem is I'm always afraid to ask anybody how to set up a workshop for some place. So I just wait for people to ask me. Hey Lee, how are you doing? Okay, so I've got those, kind of this area is almost finished, but I'm going to start hopping into the rest where I've kind of been ignoring it for a little while. So, let's see. Hey, thanks you guys. I appreciate that you're here. I was like, nobody's going to watch this probably. Yeah, so I'm super glad you asked me, because I never would have, I'm just not good at asking. I'm too afraid of rejection. Yeah, I'm not in the military. My husband's in the Army. But thank you for your service. Trying to not cover where I'm painting here. So I'm just kind of building up feathers and more of the volume, but also working on just the design of, how the piece will look. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. So just a little bit more building on that shadow, just trying to help work on the volume. You'll see I kind of go back and forth between the bigger brush and the smaller brush depending on the area that I'm working on. I feel like I'm breathing like right into my phone. Sorry. I'm directly over it. It's funny, sometimes I'll be painting something and I hate everything about it. And this is usually about the stage that I'm just like, this is awful. I'm just gonna throw it away. But then like that last step where you kind of add in all those pops of color and all the really like sharp details, and that kind of will save a piece. Oh yeah, man, I want chicks so bad right now. But we already have 15 chickens, and like we do not need any more. But I'm so tempted, especially like just being stuck home. This is the best time. Do you mean like how many layers do, like trying to remember how many layers I've done, or somebody asking that? Suzette. Yeah. As far as chickens go, somebody the other day sent me, oh man, I can't remember exactly what it was. It's like telling a joke and you can't remember the whole punchline. But it was like, I wanted 10 chickens, but if God said I should have 20, then 40 it is. And I think that's pretty accurate with chicken math. I always have other chicken fans say like, I was only going to get one of your pieces, but you know, chicken math, I had to get 2. It's like, oh, don't get 2. Yeah, so overall for layers, anywhere between, if it's like really light wash, 1 to, like you can do 1 layer, or if it's really like intense, you know, like sometimes the red, you can put 1 layer down of like thick red, and it's like, that's all you need. But so anywhere 1 to 5, it just depends on how much water is mixed in and how, you know, the overall effect I'm going for. I don't know if that really helps. I know it's kind of a range there. I didn't use any like foundation. It's just all Underglaze. I started with like I painted an outline, and then I just built up the layers on top of that. Is that what you mean? I paint, well, I build the shadow in first, and then I build to the lighter. It's more like watercolor painting, leaving the lighter areas blank so that you don't have to paint over and over and over them. And then you just kind of have to mentally map, you know, like where did I already paint something? It's always hard when I'm trying to paint during the day with the kids, and then something happens and I have to walk away, and then I come back and I'm like, shoot, how many layers in was I? Yep, I'm painting just right on the bisque. So this is just a white and a really light brown. I don't know if you can see this. Just really light brown. And like I said, usually I spend about maybe 2 hours working, but I'm trying to watch the time so that I don't go past 9 o'clock. So I'm doing a little less than I normally would, but I just want you guys to get the idea here. And then I also like to, a lot of times I mix in a color that I'm working with on, like, I'll put pink in the feathers sometimes because it helps tie in the color from the comb. That's just something I've always done with painting in general, even like when I oil paint. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, it's always hard to remember, like, how many layers was that? But I think after a while, you just kind of, you know, like you get the feel of it, and you're like, that's good, you know? There are sometimes when, like my witness cones will show me like my bisque underfired a little bit, and the underglaze will stack up because it's absorbing that water faster. And I'm looking at it like, that looks weird. What's going on? And then I, think back to that must have been in that load that only fired to, like 06 or something. I've got 3 brushes out, Dawn. I use a liner brush that's shorter though, and then this is a bigger brush, and then I've got one that's kind of in between that I don't really use that much. Those are kind of my go-to brushes, and it's like a softer synthetic, so it's got a nice spring to it, but it's not too soft. Yes, I'm mixing bright red and white for my pink, but I also love to mix rose and white. That is a really nice pink also. Hey, thanks, Diane. Thanks for being here. No, I'm not looking at a picture, but I paint these a lot, so I'm just kind of used to how they look. I don't know if I have any finished pieces right now. I can look and see before it times out. I'll try to remember to grab one. I'm not sure if I have any here right now. So now is kind of at just about the same level here. So this is when I start putting in pretty strong details. And then again, like really paying attention to the direction of the brushwork. Thank you guys. I really appreciate that. So on this last part here, I start to kind of try to go over just a little bit of where I have my shadow layers underneath, just to make sure that they pop well. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that. I'm just mixing another color real quick. You guys are so nice. Hey, Nikki, how you doing? Nikki, I hate my voice. It's so low and weird. Okay. I just looked at the time. I've got about 8 minutes. I'm going to try to hurry up. I don't want to cut into the next person. So I'm just going in and trying to do these last little sharper outlines. When I was at the MWR, when we lived in Hawaii, I taught, I'm not like an art therapy trained person, but I taught art classes as, like a component of art therapy to wounded warriors. And they always said that they loved my class because I had like this very even, calm voice. That's the only time that I saw it as a benefit, having like a weird low voice. But when I worked for customer service, they hated it because they were like, you're supposed to have, like changes in highs and low tones, and I just don't have that without sounding really weird, artificial. The knit is, it's just a washcloth I use so I don't get any, like oils from my hands on anything. And I do go birding. I also go mushroom hunting. I feel like they go hand in hand pretty well. And I'm really trying to find owls lately, but I haven't seen very many around here. Can you guys still see okay? I kind of get lost in painting at this point. And like I said, if you weren't here, I usually do more kind of, there's a few more steps in here as far as layers go, but it just takes longer to do everything. So I'm just trying to hit the highlights with you. Thanks, Stacy. Yeah, that's it's like before I get to this point, sometimes I want to just like throw it away. And then these last little bits kind of really help kind of pull it all together. I was just down with our chickens this afternoon, like looking at them. I don't know where I was going to go with that. I was hanging out with my chickens. But just really, I was talking to my son about how some of their feathers are. We've got some with these big, like, fluffy heads. And he was like, those are the rock and roll chickens, Mom. Because I call some of them, like, punk rock chickens. But he says rock and roll, and it's funny. Nikki, that's funny. I always see like those makeup tutorials. I don't really wear makeup. I've given up on any of that. But I do feel like I could probably put makeup on in some of those cool ways. So in this area, usually I would have a little bit more like subtle tones going on. So like maybe a little bit of gray. Just to build this out a little bit more. I think I've just got a couple minutes left before it kicks me off. So I'm going to try to just give you the idea. Let's see real quick. After this is over, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in like the comments. I'll try to come back and make sure I catch them. Sometimes I don't get all my notifications. So I promise I'm not ignoring. I just miss things sometimes. Oh, hey, Jackie, I didn't see you there. Jackie Brown that just commented was my undergrad ceramics professor. And I probably wouldn't even be doing this if it wasn't for her. So, I love you, Jackie. So I'll call it there. I'd have a lot more to that. And pull it away from that bright light. So there would be a lot more to it, but that's the general. Clear layers, I do like a brush layer over the painted areas, and then I just dip it once. And then I'll go in, I'm going to add, flowers and all that stuff around it. That's another already painted piece there. Thanks, everybody. So yeah, if you have any more questions, I'll try to catch them in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys around this week. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a good night.